Hi, good evening. This is actually a very difficult session because we're just keeping you away from everything else, which is the fun part. So, but trust me, when I'm interested to go to the other side, so we'll make it fast and make it interesting, right? So I think we already got introduced, to our panelists, but I'll start with Samridhi. Samridhi runs a new age influencer company called Influence, right?
Influns.
Influns, right. So that's, Samridhi. We have got Mayank here. He is the marketing head for VIVO, and does some fantastic work. We've got Kartik from ShareChat and Moj. And I think I was very surprised to know that their daily active user is about 300 million odd. So I think we will have a lot of monthly active user. Okay, monthly active user is 300 million. So we're going to learn a lot from him, what's going on in this space. We've got Digvijay himself. He is an influencer himself. So I think the way the construct, what we have thought is, the focus, of course, is going to be kind of trying to crack a model where is there a model that actually exists on influencer ROI? I think that's the first question we'll try and answer. We'll also therefore figure out that is there a way that these guys who are running it, and do they have a model in place? So we'll start with you, if you can start, Samridhi, that because I know you were on a session before this, but still, why don't you tell us about your idea of starting the company? And from there, like, what is it that you're doing differently from everybody else, so that we can start there?
Thank you, Arnab. I think just 10 minutes back, I was doing a spotlight on Influns. I don't think they want to listen about Influns anymore. But yeah, I come from an out-and-out media background, headed Star, Viacom in my previous thing. Sold my last startup about 6 months ago. And the fundamental thing about my last startup was also building communities, right? And having a fan followers, because for any brand to have any success has to have a fan following or a brand advocates for them. And influencers are the new brand advocates. And when I was studying about it for last 6 months, I felt that influencer marketing is broken at various levels, and that's why we are not able to deliver where we are supposed to deliver. I wanted to challenge the TAM and the growth that we are growing, where in West, if we are at 36 billion, in India, we're still stuck at 22 billion as an industry, right? So there is this huge gap where West is moving really fast. And because of our broken systems, we are not able to tap into that, Somebody told me that if marketing run right can increase the GDP of a country by 2 to 3%. So I thought, why not do the marketing right and build something into this space?
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much. That's a quick intro. I didn't want to really put you to a spot, but since you are the only woman on the panel, I said, why not start with you? Right?
Exactly what it is. I'm glad to be the only one.
But coming to you, Mayank, I think the next question probably, I would say that you're the right person to answer this because you're on the other side of the table from, most of us. You're a creator yourself, so I'm considering you a third side of the table, but other side of the table. What really defines ROI in influencer marketing?
So I don't think that anybody here or there can actually answer this in terms of what define the ROI. I think we are still in a learning phase as of now in terms of what we intend to have, right? But the thing is, we are moving more in a positive direction, but at the same time, it's a pros and cons to it. Let me tell you, like, some way back around, we were talking about ROI in more of a awareness, likes, engagements, views, and stuff, which is very quantitative stuff, right? But the end of it, then we go realize how much it impacted to my brand, right? Ultimately, that's the larger goal. It might have followers, it might have views, it might have likes, but you go and read the comments, right? Is it you as a brand acknowledged there? No. What is being taken away by the consumer as a brand? From a short term, from a long term. So from a quick stuff, definitely there could be an ROI in terms of like, comment, shares. But from a long-term ROI, in terms of does they get registered what as a brand wants to register? I think that's still a challenge. From a short-term ROI, definitely there still has a metrics which are like, comment, share, views. This is pretty standard stuff, gauged, and you do that transactions. But from a long-term perspective, I think the ROI, the goal, the definition, and the measure of ROI, I think it's still to be cracked as an industry or the category. Yeah.
Okay, Kartik, actually, that comes to you. Firstly, do you agree with his statement? Is it really a shifting goalpost, or at your end, because you are already at the helm of things and you are the one who's kind of providing the dashboard for people to figure out that what actually went in. Do you agree with his statement, and what are you guys doing for the shifting goalpost?
Yeah, thanks Arnab. Good evening everyone. Pleasure to be here. So honestly Arnab, I don't envy Mayank or any marketer's position today, right? Like it's a very, very hard job because the amount of data overload that's coming to a marketer today is just increasing, right? In fact, today for a marketer, and I'm sure Mayank will agree, to discern between what is noise and what is signal is becoming extremely difficult, right? And what are the actionable insights that you can get from running a marketer, running an influencer campaign, etc., has become that much more challenging. The way I would think of it is to go first principles, which is to say, what is my business objective? What is my app or service or product trying to do? And hence, what are my marketing goals? And in my marketer's toolkit, influencer and advocacy is one of the tools that will help me hit my marketing objectives, right? And hence the ROIs, metrics, etc. should be skewed towards what are my marketing objectives. I mean, that's how I think of it. Let me give you a real world example, right? Because as a platform, and I would say I'm on the fourth side of the table here, as a platform, we work with multiple brands, right? And as a case study, one of the brands, which was an international brand, Truecaller, came to us and said that, hey, we want to actually build trust and assurance in the minds of a consumer, because as you know, yeah, Truecaller basically identifies spam and fraud calls on your phone. But the issue is not just about, hey, can we look at short-term measures like, let's say, conversion rate, etc., but how do I build trust, right? Now, the reason why we and the brand brainstormed and decided to do influencer activation as one of the key pillars of the marketing piece was simply because of two reasons. Because if you think of influencers, right, let's say a person like Digvijay, right, anything on health, etc., people will actually track to his content, right? So people are very attracted and engaged to the kind of content that an influencer is talking about. And secondly, if you look at our platform, we are very regional first, vernacular first, language first, right? So that in your own language, when you're communicating with your specific TG, you actually have a much greater connect, right? So now it's not easy to measure trust, especially in the short term, right? Because trust gets built over a period of time. So I completely echo with what Mayank is saying. You have to do both short term and long term in a synergy, because you can measure your short term, like your conversion rates, what are the views, reach, likes, engagement, etc. But let's say to measure something like trust, which is your brand sentiment scores over a period of time, it's not just pre-campaign, post-campaign. It takes a while to build, right? So doing both hand in hand is what will give you more healthier ROI metrics, I feel.
Okay, cool. I'll actually hold you to this, because I know you're a purist, because if everybody don't know, he actually comes from D2C, then moved to Hotstar, and then from there he has come to this. So he's a purist. I'll catch hold of this and this long term, short term. But Digvijay, coming to you, I think one of the questions, because we spoke about trust, and trust can be measured, but you are in that zone of, I don't know if, do you all follow Digvijay? I promised him that I'll get him 100 followers, so please go and follow him. That's first thing. You can flash his handle here. But yeah, just coming back to you, trust can be measured, sold, etc. But you have picked up health, which I think everybody would like to believe that they are in control of, which also starts with a lot of trust, right? So you are dealing in trust. So tell us, do you agree, no, or how you are actually using it?
First of all, hi everyone. The great answers. How I see in my niche, it is health, right? So I have to make sure what I am suggesting something won't harm them. That's the first principle, or that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I guess the money that I make from all the brands and whatever I do, I say no to more than that, right? Is because for longevity, trust is something that I want to build, and it should be authentic. It's कहते हैं ना लंबे रेस का घोड़ा बनना है, तो फिर that is what I feel like. I'm not here for 1 or 2 years to make a quick buck. I want to create a change, bring awareness, and how I can do something that actually helps the other person. So whatever you do is basis on that. So for me, how I see ROI is how can I make a normal product a habit forming product. Can be from anything. Can be food, masala, can be equipment, etc., etc. When a brand comes to me, I'm like, okay, what are you trying to do with this campaign? Because I also want, they are paying me, but I also want to give them a good ROI. So I tell them, okay, you want engagement? Great. But how do you make it, how do you convert an audience to consumer? So that is what I really focus on. And then obviously how I'm utilizing their products in my content, I have to make sure that's a seamless integration. And over the period of time, let's say I use a protein powder or let's say a 0-calorie sweetener, I should also personally consume it, and for a long period of time, that's how people know, oh yeah, Digvijay uses this product. So that is how you build trust. And I mean, like, trust is everything in our, especially, you know, it takes a long time to build trust, but it takes like few, maybe videos where you're not authentic, you're unauthentic, and that really breaks the trust. So I think for me, I mean, like everything works. Whatever they are answering, it makes a lot of sense. You know, community, what the brand's expecting, and what we, as a person who creates content, I have to see all those aspects. You know, because they are dealing on the other side. So I have to see the data and then include it in my content. So
Right.
yeah, that's
No, thank you for that. Mayank, actually coming to you because it's a global brand, right, that you are part of in this country. And I'm guessing this is probably one of the largest markets, right? In comparison to the global standards, right, do we act differently? Does influencers here act differently? Is it, what do you hear from your global peers in other markets? How they are measuring it, how things are here. Is it any different, or is there a playbook that kind of cuts through all markets?
So I think forget about the global level. I think within India itself, I don't think there is any universal thing which we can do. Because thanks to the diversified culture which we have, the languages, the feelings, the emotions, the things people do, and the way, I mean, that's what we were discussing backstage also in terms of, especially in the tier 2, tier 3, and the regionals and the vernaculars, and the behaviors which is being there. I think, and hence we have multiple KOLs at different level. Maybe if I have to make a single communication, but it has to be in different way, different languages, different tonalities altogether. And I think that's what's the major standout or a call out which happened between a brand assets or a brand or a brand ambassador versus a KOL. Why? Because a brand ambassador might talk at a global level, at a national level, but when we go on more KOL, that goes into a more one-to-one level, which is more of because he has his own following, it's a brand in itself, right? So hence it has to be diversified to a ground zero, wherein that his tonality, his personality, his associations goes, and that's what the KOL comes. So hence I think there's no global as such. Even from an India level perspective, we go from a city to city level also to the vernacular, and hence the tier 2 tier market comes very emotional for us. Why? Because the next wave is coming from there.
Right.
First, because from a tier 1, I think it's kind of from maximum of the brands which are known as global, it's I think kind of saturation is already there. That biasness is already there. But the next growth comes from tier 2, tier 3. And if you have a tier 2, tier 3, you have to go there and then talk to them in their language and influence them from their perspective, right? So that means you go have your change strategy, your communications, your targeting at that particular local level. So I don't think that any such kind, there's a formula, okay, this is the script, this is the tonality, please go and do. And the moment we start doing this, I think we will dilute the influencer culture. Like today, if I go to Digvijay and say, boss, here is the script, here is my product, please do. So what's the difference between him as a KOL or I do a DVC ad? Right. So my DVC ad is something which I am controlling, I am scripting, I am directing. The reason he is influencer is because he is his own style. Yes, there can be a brief, okay, this is the message to be communicated. But to be his audience, his own style, his own language, I think that's what the cream of that having a KOL as a KOL.
Yeah, no, actually, that brings me to you back, Digvijay. I think we were discussing this backstage as well. He spoke of style of people, and therefore, like more like, let's put it, horses for courses, and every horse has their own way of working. I want for the larger benefit, I want to know that how do you come up with your own style? Is there something that you do research on? Do you practice and you come up with something, and is it based on data, scientific, or it's more emotional? What is it?
It has to absolutely be on data. When you're starting, let's say as a creator, even brands now, they're trying to build their social media handles and all. So obviously, you want to experiment with a lot of trends, you want to experiment with a lot of things, but for people like us who has a niche, like for me it's health and wellness, so I have to obviously see, okay, whom am I catering to? Somebody's into nutrition, somebody's into health, somebody's into food, and somebody is into a holistic lifestyle. So I have these segregated, like that's how I make content. Then I see, okay, what can I offer to them, right? Can I make a healthy recipe, right? When I introduce myself, I make junk food healthy. That's what I do. Healthy cheesecakes, healthy Nutella. That's what I make for a living, you know. And that brands, they like it. People, they like it because they, oh, great. This thing has a lot of sugar. Oh, I wanted a replacement for this. Digvijay is doing it. Amazing. So it's a great way of me to do things. So that is, I absolutely see data for fitness. I see, okay, what, I can talk about biohacking, I can talk about pranayama, right? India has so much of great knowledge about all these things. So I see how can I promote it to people who are into fitness. How can I make these things cool and also convey this to Gen Z. जो Vedas में आया है, अब मैं उनको same तरीके से बताऊंगा लोगों को. They might not really like it, but if I tell them in a cool way, in a like a friend, it will really work for them. So that I see, okay, now these people are perceiving it in a right way, the way I talk, the way I do things. So data is key, and your audience is going to tell you what is going to work for you and what is not going to work for you. So I think that is, I absolutely feel like data is everything.
Right. Samridhi, do you agree to that statement? One. Second is, are we measuring what matters or just what's easiest?
No, absolutely not. What easiest is already available. There is no point of having a new platform just to measure what's easy. No, what he's saying is absolutely the truth of it, right? Without data, you will not be able to function. And so our platform is actually doing something very, very different, right? Dynamically allocating the pricing of what influencer is working for a particular brand or not. So if he hires 10 influencers and 3 are working based on the data points that those are resonating with the audience, we maneuver the money to those 3 to funnel it more rather than people who are not working. So you have to understand that out of 10, only 3 or 2 or 1 or 5 will work. Not everybody is going to give the same result, because some are going to resonate with some particular influencers with their authenticity and some are not. And that's clearly based on data points, right? And the smart match, right? Every brand, VIVO might have a different brand strategy from another competitor, right? So how to match that brand tonality with the right influencer, as he said that he wants to have a friendlier tone. Everything in that thing is data driven, right? And you have to match that if influencer marketing at some level has to grow.
No, I agree principally. See, I mean, let's make it a little more real. I want people out of this room to go with a, like a pen and paper where they have written down things which really works, right? So why don't you tell us how are you doing it differently from others? I mean, I know we missed out on your presentation, but still you have another shot at it.
The basic fundamental thing that we are trying to do is we are not trying to first forend, right? We are not trying to reach to the influencer. It's the other way around. We put up a campaign and influencer reaches to us. So there is no point forcing a templatization, right? कि एक agency ने आपने एक brand दिया and they sent you a template of 10 people and you have to choose from that based on the generic numbers that you get. So we are asking the influencers who want to be associated with a VIVO or some other brand, they first apply. So the first filterization goes to that level, right? That they're serious about what they want to promote. If there's a brand that I hate and I don't want to promote, I might not apply for that. The second is the matching bit, right? The tonality of what VIVO wants. I'm sorry, I'm taking your name because it's the easy.
I think I'm the only one
promoting
here to be used.
VIVO.
ROI आएगा यहाँ से ROI.
So matching that with the right influencer, right? If VIVO has a particular tone that they want to follow and the influencer is completely negating that tone or that brand voice, it doesn't matter. The kind of lists that are shared to us are templates. So at the first fundamental level, you have to give the influencer the choice at a larger scale to say, I want to be a part of this campaign. You have to get them invested onto your platform. The first thing is we charge the influencer to apply for the campaign, not because we want to make money out of them, but for them to be committed onto the platform and say, hey, whatever I'll do the best. And then is the smart matching, getting the AI layer to filter down and read and scan through maybe Digvijay's entire profile, get the meta tags done of what kind of influencer he is, and then match him with the tonality of the brand. And then all the metrics around all the platforms are captured under one roof, right? So data and filterization at every level and then selecting your top 10 is going to make a huge difference in terms of, and as Sir said, it's going to be a short-term and a long-term KPI-driven goal, right? You can keep pursuing those home influencers who can then eventually become your brand advocates. And you have to keep funneling that thing to them that they become your brand advocates and their community becomes your brand advocates. And you can't do that at any other platform. And having your brand advocates is going to be the most easiest and the most expensive currency that you're going to own, not any kind of other advertising, I believe.
Correct.
Sorry, just one. Sorry. I think I agree with the brand advocates, but I don't agree it's the easiest.
If you do it right, it's going to be easy. I said most expensive and most easy currency that you're going to own.
No, see, if, again, I think somehow, I think, Arnab, I don't know, because maybe I am the guy who is looking for that answer in terms of, yes, what you said is perfectly right in terms of start.
Yeah.
In terms of, again, what to gauge is still not answer. I think it's
Sir,
that.
my contradiction to you as a brand is you judge an influencer कि आपने एक campaign कर लिया, इसमें मेरा ROI क्या है? But if you don't consistently pursue that thing, it's everything has become math, right? Influencer marketing cannot be first categorized as math. Everybody is talking about ROI. There is a persistent thing. You cannot put one digital ad and say, Vivo will change the brand game. It's the simpler. You have to make your brand advocates to say that I, as Samridhi, as an influencer, will advocate your brand without you paying me.
So I think if we conclude this, can we say, I think the ultimate ROI is to have a brand advocate.
Yeah, and that's what we should look at, more than just ROIs and just CPVs or CPMs.
Good.
Okay, no, I
As
like
an
that
advertiser,
little,
you should completely.
confusion over there. But coming to you, Kartik, tell me, you are a much more neutral platform. You are not really controlling what's coming your way, right? And she spoke about that we are not really telling people what to create. They're doing whatever they want to do. But you still said after 2 scrolls, bhakti aa jata hai, right? On your platform. So I'm saying there is a success playbook that exists, right? So you want to just, because I think a lot of people want to, we don't really get to meet people who are sitting on so much data like you do. Why don't you tell us more about how much bhakti content we are making, how much something else we are making, etc.
Yeah, no. So, Arnab, so while of course there are genres which are hugely popular, and probably I'll also start by saying that ShareChat and Moj are platforms which are very regional first, language first, vernacular first, right? So essentially, that's the level of audience that you're looking at. When I say level, it's basically very deep micro pockets of, let's say, a Gujarati first, Marathi first, Bhojpuri first, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada first kind of audience, right? So obviously there are genres that do really well, which is of course, there's entertainment, song, dance, devotional, bhakti, etc., right? But again, coming back to your question, right? Like, as a platform, where do we see influencer marketing actually catching up, right? Now, all brands that come to us to do influencer campaigns come to us for 3 broad reasons, right? Broadly. Now, one is to build consideration on influencer campaigns. And let me explain that, right? Now, if you think of big brands in big categories, right? Let's say VIVO in handsets, Maruti in 4-wheeler, Hero in auto. These brands have 98% plus awareness scores, right? They're well aware in all the audience within the country. Right. Now, the point is, how can you use an influencer very effectively to actually move, let's say, by talking about KSPs of the phone, by talking about interesting functionalities of a bike, to actually move the consideration scores, to move people who follow those influencers to move consideration, right? So large part of why people come to us for influencer campaign activation is actually to move consideration scores. So I'll give you a very interesting example. We were talking, Mayank and me, that we recently did a VIVO Y series campaign on our platform, wherein, of course, we engaged with multiple influencers, and there was a hashtag challenge and all of that. Now, it's not just about, hey, at the end of this campaign, these were the engagement rates, reach, view, etc. But at the end of that campaign, there were, and it was a 4-week campaign, there were almost 10 to 12 million people who had engaged with content. Yeah. Now, to that engaged audience, you can actually send a conversion lever, which is to say that, hey, to transact or to buy a Vivo phone, now you can get so much. Now the attribution will happen to the last campaign, right? From a standpoint of ROI calculation. Right. But it's the effort of all these influencers who has gone in the first campaign that also should actually carry, right? So to back up what Samridhi is telling, it's also not just doing one influencer campaign and just leaving it at that. Right. It comes with, hey, what are the actionable insights that I'm getting from, let's say, this cohort base that I can go for, right? So that's number one. Number two, why people come to a platform like ours is to get incremental audience, right? An influencer typically has an engaged audience who will give an incremental to, let's say, when a brand marries that, campaign with that influencer. We as a platform also actually have incremental audience to even Meta. Because we are language first, in all of your language first markets, we have about 70, 80 million additional audience over and above, let's say, an Instagram and a Meta. So people come to us to run influencer campaigns to get to that incremental audience. So I'll give you an example, right? Wakefield was launching a new, Faluda mix in Bengal during Durga Puja. Now that's as micro you can get, right? Bengali audience in West Bengal, Faluda mix for Durga Puja. right? And they wanted that incremental audience in West Bengal to come as a back of this launch of Wakefield Faluda, right? So, of course, we carried out the campaign. They saw very good results, etc. But largely, I think the crux was how do I reach into that micro market to get an incremental audience? Right. And the third reason why they come to us is to create what I call as IP, content IPs, right? And here we have like a bunch of examples. So, for example, Nivea has been running something called a fresh batch with us, wherein every season they look at young female audience who are users of the Nivea products, and then they carry on that IP every year, right? And of course, engage with them, do multiple challenges, contests, etc., etc. And influencers actually build those, levers of how do I get more engagement, how do I increase my community. So I think those are examples where, or those are 3 buckets and examples thereof, wherein we've actually leveraged the influencers on our community and across ranges, across macro, nano, micro, etc., to actually leverage these 3 key things for the brands and their goals.
Yeah. No, I'll just come to Mayank. Mayank, I think he spoke about the fallacy of the last click or the last mile, what you want to talk about. And you also spoke about advocacy, right? And you also spoke about advocacy. We have an advocate sitting who does it for a living. But question is that how do you differentiate how to attribute it to that coupon code that got generated? That it's not it. It's actually, that somebody who started the hashtag challenge, and therefore the entire, your KOLs who are probably pushing people, ki chalo chalo isme part lo. How do you differentiate that? Like, is there data that allows us to track all of that, like the entire long tail?
See, if you say, will it be 100% accurate data in terms of any penny, every penny spent on a KOL, with every penny of the ROI it has been given? No, right? But there is a smart way to do it, right? Many of times we do a subtle integration wherein we have few KOLs in place, and in the name of monetization, they do pass out few of the coupons which is being further redeemed at the store or the e-store level, right? So there is a bit of percentage to it. It's the only thing you can extrapolate such type of audiences. Why? Because ultimately you are a brand. You are not there to their offers. So KOL is there to give you incremental reach and revenue, not to give you a discounted product, right? But at the same time, there is few way or the other that you can try, okay, if I did this thing as a test pilot, as a test segment, maybe a Bengal as a market, or maybe if he talks about this way, if we come with a particular product which is similarly only for that offer happening, say Durga Puja in West Bengal, and say VIVO gives you this offer, and we activate few of the KOLs in that particular region, and this is hence a Durga Puja offer, right? So there could be a mechanism wherein, okay, online or an offline redemption of that particular coupon, and then we can extrapolate that particular data. But if you say the each and every penny spent, every KOL engaged, and then you cut down to a redemption, no, that's typically not possible. That's definitely, there is a testing done and extrapolation data which can be attributed that way.
Right. Okay. Digvijay, coming to you, of course, they all spoke about that, how they like to give a free playing field to influencers. Is it true?
Yes, with some brands and not really with some other brands. Depends. I talk to a lot of brands. I tell them, so a lot of brands that I work with them long term. There are some brands like Urban Platter. I started working with Swiggy, Instamart. I've been their consumer, but I also see that, if regularly we create a content, it becomes very easy for people to also register. Let's say if you're trying to talk about a product, first time they might think, oh, great. That's awareness. Second time, they go, oh, I saw this before. What is it actually? They might check it out. And the third time, they're like, oh, let me try it out. Let me go and buy it. So I think, but I also understand, brands have a budget. It depends what kind, what's the size of a brand, do they have enough money to invest in a lot of creators, or do they want instant ROI? Because not everybody has big fat budgets. So they have limited. So I totally understand the other side, that how much money they're having for marketing. But I always feel like, if you, also then there are also tiers of creators, nano, micro, and then macro creators are there. You see, okay, a lot of time people get a lot of ROI with micro creators, with nano creators, somewhere around 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 followers. Sometimes they get more ROI than, working with a person who has 1 million followers, is because, let's say you spend let's say you spend 1 lakh on a macro creator. In that you can get 10 nano creators who can make you 10 videos. Out of them, if let's say 2 of them blow up, right, because it might be raw, it might be XYZ, people resonate with it, they might have great community, they might get better ROI with a macro creator. So sometimes brands are also looking at this way. But always, I think, or IP or multiple videos should be created with one creator. I would suggest don't, if you're there, if their only objective is to create awareness and bring views, then yes, working with creators who can get them a lot of views is great, work with multiple creators. But if you want to create trust, if you want to build brand loyalty, then I think you should work with selective creators for a long period of time. That's how they can build trust, they can get more sales, and that is how you actually build an authentic relationship with them. You're not trying to be a salesman selling them everything. And also for the creators becomes really well. I think what I see in my field is also that somebody today is promoting X supplement, and in the next 1 month they're promoting 10 similar type of supplements of different brands. So people are like, okay, people are really confused in that. So brand should also build like a long-term partnership. It gives us security to the creator, and then they also like loyal. They're like, oh, he's giving me 6 months of revenue, 6 months of, my paycheck is coming from there. So they are supporting me. Let them also support them. Not just online but also offline. So that way, I think there's some brands that I really love. Even some brands that I don't promote in the sense they don't pay me. I still promote them. Talking to people, build, just if it helps the people that way. But brands who really support my work, who really support this thing, you actually become very loyal to them. So I think that thing is there.
Okay. Samridhi, do you have any case studies like this which you can probably share?
So one of the very important things that, not case studies per se, because we are very, very new in this space. We are very, very new in this space. But one of the things that we are very, very careful about doing is what Digvijay just said, right? Don't give the same influencer the same brand category once he's already done that. And we filter it and meta target. If he's done Pepsi, he's not doing Coke. If he's done Apple, he's not doing VIVO. Till a particular thing, his campaign is agreed with us. And the longevity, yes. What we are doing is we are actually giving a report to the brand saying, hey, these are the 2 influencers that really worked for you, are also in the becoming from nano to micro to mega. You should tap them for next 6 months. So to build that brand advocacy that we speak about, we are enabling the brands to have the right advocates through influencer marketing with data points.
Okay.
I think the other way, if I take Digvijay and Samridhi together, in that case, I think it can be a brief coming from a brand also, wherein say one is definitely there is a brand ambassador or like a macro or like a hero KOL, which is more from a brand advocacy or maybe a brand ad specifically in that case. But when you start building the community, there might be a sign off from the brand wherein, okay, these are like 1,000 nanos or there may be a few hundreds of macros, which they do a sign up for long. Let they stay loyal and exclusive with you, and let they grow with the brand. Let they grow with the advocacy. Let they grow with a more loyalty towards the brand. So what happens is there a uniformity happens throughout the ecosystem wherein, okay, Digvijay can be known, okay, he's being associated with the brand for long. So whatever he's talking about the brand is on the behalf of the brand. And hence he talks about that brand. I think that's what we are trying to complement. Why? Because otherwise the brand will say, okay, Digvijay ko to liya tha, we have done with his followership. Why not go and find more? But what the brand also needs to understand is, okay, it's all about Digvijay ko liya tha, but that means Digvijay's entire followership is now converted to VIVO followership. They are still Digvijay's followership, they are not loyalists of VIVO. To make them loyalists of VIVO, I think there is a build-up, further frequency to be built up to those audiences with the different communications. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So I think I completely agree with you. As an agency, Liqvd Asia, we believe in this concept called assetization of ideas, which what you talk about is assetization of influencers, nano influencers. You invest in them, you grow together, right? And I think that's a fantastic. I mean, to me, I want to kind of dedicate the next 4 or 5 minutes discussing the future of influencer marketing and therefore the ROI before you open it for people to ask questions. I genuinely think that assetization of idea is one thing. Like he spoke of Jigar Bomb, which I really loved, by the way, as a term. I think you come up with an idea and you believe that there is merit in investing in that, be it with influencer, be it with many influencers, and you kind of fund it, till it becomes a community of its own, right? So that I think is the future of influencer marketing, and therefore you can actually, because you're sure of what you're doing, you can actually create your own playbook of creating a data structure which feeds into your system, which tells you a specific, and it could be something like a click to like a partner site visit, if that's a term we can come up with, which essentially mean that I'm sending it to a site where a transaction is happening. So that to me is the future of influencer marketing. I would just ask each one of you that what do you think is future, and then one by one, and before we kind of open it for people to ask questions. To you.
I see future, I mean, like, future is bright for influencer marketing and influencers, you know, if they do the right thing. Community is really coming up, you know, building a community online and offline. It really, you know, it's going to boom in the next coming years, especially from this year. Creating micro IPs, creating IPs, it works really well. You know, some of my friends, they made IPs, now they're, either it's getting acquired or somebody's investing in them, becoming like a long-time partner. Like, I have friends who have got, you know, collaborations, or their slots are full for the next 1 year by just one brand. So that big of deals are also being done. And the third, I think it's experiences in general are really picking up, you know, how you can create experiences for people in maybe online and offline. That's really going to pick up. And, you know, you can also come up with new trends. You can also build stuff, you know, that's something that's never been done. Like, you know, recently I met Samay, he has made India's Got Latent, which is insane, the number of viewership and the people he is getting. It's insane. So you can also come up with new things, but I think IP, you know, community and, you know, how you can be real and create like episodes is going to really boom in the coming year.
Kartik,
Yeah.
what's new?
So probably I'll comment on 3-4 trends that we are seeing as a platform, and probably I think 2-3 of them are short term and maybe few are long term. I think one is regionalization. Local language is going to be a trend here to stay. Like as Mayank rightly said, we are a country with 28 states, 100 plus languages, 200 plus dialects. So the more regional and the more micro in a market you can go, and go with vernacular, local influencers who understand cultural nuances, that trend is actually now being appreciated by brands. So I think that's a strong trend. The second big trend is we are actually now in influencer plans seeing a lot of micro, nano influencers. And for some of the reasons that he said, right? They are actually lower cost, higher conversion pieces that actually bake in very well. And also their engagement with their micro community is very, very strong. I think the third interesting trend on our platform especially is that influencers are making very different kinds of content pieces, which means a lot of short form, micro content pieces are coming out from influencers, because it's no longer about long form storytelling alone. You know, the attention spans are so short that you're going to see micro and nano content as well, right, from influencers. Another one that's very unique to our platform is gifting, right? Virtual gifting to influencers is now becoming a very, very big mainstay part of, let's say, even our revenue lines, right? And that's a very interesting piece wherein users who are so engaged on the platform with their influencers actually give virtual gifts or currency to their influencer ecosystem. And what I see playing out in the medium to long term is more like AI influencers, etc. It's still, I think, very early days in India. Globally, we have a few examples, nothing mainstay really in India. But I think the future with the way AI is really booming and penetrating, I think that's something to look out for.
Mayank?
I think he has taken everything, I think. So I don't think there is something else to be talked about. He covered all the points. But I think I somehow agree 100% with him in terms of definitely the regional thumb is definitely to go. On a Gen AI, I am still, I think the future, which I think, like as a brand, and we and other brands also are looking for, many of the brands have now started thinking about a AI avatar. Why? Because if you see from a KOL perspective, if we all believe like that, if I say Vodafone has to have that Zizou, right? That was a time which is a non-AI, and a Zizou was a brand in itself, right? And that is something how a brand is thinking of. Why? Because when we talk about a loyalist, we talk about an advocate, we talk about an image, an icon who can stand very well within the brand and stuff. And this could be one of the future go on. But again, is he an influencer? Does he has a follower? No. It's still the brand stuff, right? But from a KOL perspective, which I say is because the more regional, the more nano, the more micro you go, it's the future for sure. But at the same time, the brand also needs to give that full funnel freedom to them to generate that content. I was discussing with Kartik backstage also, whenever we go with like a hero or like a main celebrity or a KOL, we try to drive a lot because the cost of production, the control is very, very high. But I think if we need to increase, I mean, hence we rightly said, right? A nano will have a higher million views or a higher engagement. Why? Because it's his own style. So I think that's the future stage. But at the same time, there has to be a balance between how much you control and how much you like give a leverage to. And at the same time, I think the larger question still stays is how do you measure that ROI and how are these tools reacting to why? Because many of things, the platform still stays as wall gardens. APIs are not so open. If you want to control, you want to gauge, you want to compare, tools definitely are building up at the same time. At build of what? Because few tools are there, few tools are still evolving. So I think both, there has to be a future of tech also to be involved to justify the investment in KOL. Yeah.
Cool. Samridhi, what's future for you?
See, my point is fundamentally very simple, that influencer marketing has to change at a fundamental level. We have to close the broken system at some level. We have to make it more transparent. As I see that there is a huge lack of transparency in the whole data bit. It has to be, all the tools have to aggregate. We are not building a tool platform. We are actually giving and aggregating tools to build a greater marketplace and a true marketplace for influencers, and let every dollar or every rupee spent by the brand, they should be privy to where the money is being spent, and cut the layers. You know, the biggest thing is the MLM system that's working in the influencer marketing. It goes to one big agencies and then trickle down to 10 bigger, 10 smaller agencies. That's why the agencies are losing all the ROI and thus not evolving. We have to break the we have to, you know, make the systems better for influencers marketing at a collective level to become better and deliver ROI.
I just quick have two things, very interesting things. One is AI in content creation and other things, like what we usually think is just use ChatGPT and stuff and all. But I know people who are doing everything by AI. You know, they have made AI assistants. They have made people to brainstorm their content. They are doing storyboarding from it. They are creating movies from it. So that's pretty interesting. So I think that AI is really, really picking up and people should get to it. Also, I know a lot of people who are dubbing their content in other languages using AI, and also they're animating it. So I think that's absolutely there. So that's really picking up. And I think one last thing I like to say is I think everyone should start thinking like an entrepreneur, not like a creator. You know, that's where the game really switches. So that's...
Cool. We're almost time, we are time's up actually. But I don't know if there anybody who has got a pertinent question and wants to add and ask anybody. I think maybe a minute we can take. Any question from anybody? Yes, sir.
Since we're talking about influencer ROI, one is the ROI on the influencer in terms of marketing and how much sales you are able to convert that into. The other is ROI on the influencer, because once you get an influencer on board, especially Mayank, looking at you, the influencer is so big that you sort of tie yourself into with how the influencer is going to progress over the next, Digvijay, you said long term, right? So the crests and troughs of the influencer might become the crests and troughs of the product or of the brand. So how do you measure that? And how does that influence or change how much you use that particular influencer in your campaigns?
See, I think that's what what Samridhi was also talking about, wherein the shortlisting of that KOL at that particular level has to be very minutely discussed and evolved, given that is the core value of the brand, thus matches with the core value of that particular influencer. If these things tie ups, then makes a large, a call to go. Say, I give you a very classic example. Say, forget about a KOL, which we talk about getting associated for long, leads into an advocate, and then hence into it's automatically a brand ambassador, right? I've been I think we should do a sign off to, a heads off to like Hyundai for that particular matter, right? Say, looking for a Shah Rukh Khan. I think it's almost 21 years that guy is being the brand ambassador for Hyundai. Right? I'm not sure how many people have privilege to go to enter the Mannat. It's still every new launch of Hyundai. He is being blessed having that particular car parked in his profile. So that's how the brand advocacy being built up, because that's how you build up. But at the same time, if you and the KOL resonates at that initial level, because your future plans, your brand language, your brand essence matches with that particular KOL, with his essence, which is future growth, I think that's the merit. And if it happens, it's a long way to go. Otherwise, it's a transactional value which happens and it goes. Yeah.
Cool. I think we can't take any more questions. So thank you very much. Thank you for being here, and thank you.
Thank you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, bye.